The grandfather clock in the vast marble hallway had just chimed 6 when Alexander Whitmore, one of the country's youngest self-made millionaires, quietly stepped into his mansion. He wasn't supposed to be home for another 2 days. The board meetings in London had been cut short, and instead of checking into his usual city penthouse, something inside him pulled him back home, to his daughter Emily. She was only 8, wide-eyed, curious, the very reason Alexander worked himself nearly to exhaustion. But as he set his briefcase down, he froze. From the open crack of the library doors, he heard voices, soft, measured, and instructive. The other smaller, innocent, almost trembling. It was his wife, his second wife, Clara, Emily's stepmother. "Read it again," Clara was saying gently, though there was an undertone of strictness. This time without guessing. "Sound it out." Alexander leaned closer. To his astonishment, Emily was struggling to read sentences most children her age had already mastered. His daughter's voice cracked, her eyes darting nervously between the book and Clara. Tears stung Alexander's eyes. He had believed Emily was thriving at school, showered her with tutors, the best education money could buy. Yet here she was, stumbling through words, embarrassed and frustrated. And Clara wasn't mocking her, wasn't scolding her, but guiding her with a firmness Alexander hadn't realized his wife possessed. She held Emily's small hands in her own, as though the act of learning was sacred, whispering words of encouragement each time Emily faltered. When Clara finally noticed Alexander in the doorway, her face went pale. "You weren't supposed to be home yet," she murmured. Emily, however, lit up like the sunrise. "Daddy," she leaped from the chair and ran into his arms. "I'm learning. Clara's helping me read." Alexander looked between the two, his daughter clutching him tightly, his wife watching with uncertainty. He expected betrayal. After all, in his world of wealth, loyalty was fragile, and he had long suspected Clara of marrying him for the glitter of his fortune rather than the grit of his reality. Yet what he saw in her eyes now wasn't greed. It was something deeper. That night, over dinner, truths began to unravel. Emily excused herself after eating, leaving Alexander and Clara at the long dining table, a chasm of silence between them. He broke it first. "Why didn't you tell me Emily was struggling?" The Clara set her fork down. "Because you don't see her struggles, Alexander. You only see her through reports from teachers, grades from tutors, the surface of success. But beneath all that, she is a little girl who feels lost. I didn't want to embarrass her by exposing her weakness in front of you, so I tried to help quietly." Her words landed heavy. Alexander had built empires, negotiated billion-dollar deals, but he had missed the quiet cries of his own child. And it wasn't the first time. His relentless ambition after Emily's mother passed away had left him blind to the cracks forming in his daughter's heart. Clara continued, her voice steady but tinged with pain. "I know what you think of me, that I'm here for your wealth. And maybe once, I believed money meant security. But when I see Emily's eyes light up after she finally reads a sentence, or when she clings to me at night because she misses her mother, I realize why I'm truly here. It's not the mansion or the jewelry, it's her. And, whether you believe it or not, it's also you." Alexander felt the weight of her confession. He had built walls around his heart, protecting himself from betrayal, but in doing so, he had also kept love out. The following weeks tested all of them. Alexander, for the first time, canceled meetings and cleared his schedule. He sat beside Emily and Clara during their lessons, fumbling with phonics and rhymes he hadn't thought about since childhood. At first, Emily resisted. She was ashamed of disappointing her father. But Alexander did something that surprised them all. He admitted his own flaws. "I wasn't good at reading either, when I was your age," he confessed one evening. "I stumbled just like you. And I was so afraid of failing that I pretended I was fine. But you know what? The bravest thing isn't being perfect. It's trying again." That admission cracked open something powerful. Emily no longer saw learning as a test she was failing, but as a journey she was sharing, with both her father and her stepmother. Still, there were storms. Rumors spread in the press that Clara was manipulating Alexander, that she was using Emily as leverage. Old friends of Alexander whispered poison into his ear. "She's too perfect with Emily. It's an act. Watch her." Doubt gnawed at him, but each time he saw Clara patiently guiding Emily, he couldn't reconcile the woman before him with the gossip. The breaking point came when Emily's school hosted a reading recital. Emily was terrified. She begged not to go, tears streaking her cheeks. "I'll embarrass you, Daddy," she whispered. But Alexander knelt down, his voice steady. "Emily, do you know what would embarrass me? If you didn't try. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be brave." On stage, her little voice wavered, stumbled. But then Clara mouthed the words silently, her eyes locked with Emily's. Alexander sat in the front row, clapping softly each time his daughter found her rhythm again. By the end, Emily finished her piece to a standing ovation, not because it was flawless, but because it was honest, raw, and courageous. Back at the mansion that night, Emily fell asleep curled in Clara's lap. Alexander stood watching them, his heart swelling with a realization he could no longer ignore. He cleared his throat, his voice breaking as he spoke. "Clara, I was wrong about you. I let suspicion cloud what was right in front of me. You've given Emily something I never could. Patience, gentleness, a mother's touch. And you've given me something too, a chance to love again." A tears welled in Clara's eyes, but she only whispered, "We're a family." Alexander broke in pieces and all. But together we can make something whole. From that day forward, the Whitmore mansion no longer echoed with cold silence and lonely luxury. It resonated with laughter, late-night story sessions, burnt pancakes on Sunday mornings, and a love that no wealth could buy. Alexander learned his greatest investment wasn't in companies or stocks, but in the fragile, beating hearts of the two people sitting across from him at breakfast. And the message that lingered, one that every soul in that home came to believe, was simple yet profound. Family isn't built on perfection, or money, or appearances. Built on love that chooses, every single day, to stay, to believe, and to grow.